they acquired Fusion, one of the high-end compositing software that is used by Hollywood. In 2016, they acquired two companies, Fairlight, which was a developer of professional audio workstations, and Ultimate, the world's best brand for chroma keying. And in 2017, they made their latest acquisition, me. I started working in 2017, March. Now that I'm in the company, I realized why we have done this. Because we are a company that's driven by a vision rather than the wish to make profit of products. We want to make advanced technology available for everyone, not just for rich people. And we want to make this without compromising on quality. So, quality, uncompromising quality at affordable prices. This has been our ethos, and this will always be our ethos. With this in mind, I'd like to now present you a short overview of what we have done in one of the fields that we focus on, which is digital film technology and post. The digital film market has been a confusing place, having seen rapid changes over the last 5 to 10 years. There's been an explosive growth in image quality, resolutions, and color fidelity. What was available just 5 years ago at $100,000 is now available at $10,000 or even less. Whereas digital camera formats were a curiosity 10 years ago, they are now the go-to platform for high-end features, broadcast production, and commercial video work. Today, digital film technology is equivalent phrase for all professional video production. So, as you can see here, this trend from analog film to digital has been happening since the early 2000s. It started in 1999 when George Lucas first shot the Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace for the first time with a digital camera. This was the F900 from Sony. Since then, digital has replaced 35mm more and more because this was a natural evolution, as it was cheaper, easier to distribute, and easier to manage in post-production. So what does this mean for you? You have access to higher performing technology at lower investment. You can deliver a higher quality output, and not to just those with the higher budgets. But this also creates competition. Now, only your creativity is your limit, not the equipment. So, coming back to the chart, the crossover from digital to analog happened around this time in 2012. This was the point, the switch where digital overtook analog in digital film production. And that was the same time Blackmagic design entered the camera market. This was the time of the DSLR revolution, the Canon 5D Mark II DSLRs, using photograph lenses with large full-frame sensors, achieving shallow depth of field. These machines fill the gap between high-end cinema cameras and video camcorders, creating a film look at affordable prices. But they also had limitations. They could shoot only limited duration video before heating up. They worked 8-bit and used highly compressed codecs like MPEG or H.264, creating a lot of quality issues and artifacts during post-production. At this moment, the Blackmagic cinema camera arrived. At $3,000, it was massively disruptive because it featured 2.5K resolution, 13 stops of dynamic range, and internal RAW recording. This was a response to the demand customers had for affordable, filmic-looking cameras that were designed specifically for video. This also was the beginning of the Blackmagic ethos, camera ethos of 3 Rs. Range, RAW, resolve. Range, because it featured 13 stops of dynamic range, which was very high for a camera of that time. RAW, because it featured inbuilt RAW recording, which was only available at very high-end cameras at that time. And resolve, because each Blackmagic cinema camera and each digital film camera that came after comes with a full license of resolve, which was at that time costing $1,000. So many new cameras are coming into the market nowadays that it's easy to get lost among models. And really, what do you choose if you need a camera? How do you choose? The answer is that there is no such thing as a perfect camera, only the camera that's right for you. You have to consider first the return of investment, your cost of the camera, how much you can earn from the work that you are going to do with that camera, and how much that work is going to pay you back, the cost that you place for the camera. Is it the right tool for the job? Can it adapt to different clients or projects you might come across? And is its quality good enough? Because your reputation is on the line as a professional. I have to read this from the screen because it's very important. Your camera must be adaptable to deliver to any client's brief and offer the highest quality output possible. It should be a tool that develops and supports your creativity and strengthens your reputation. It must never compromise your work. It must never compromise your work. This is a big statement to make. So to summarize, you need flexibility. You need adaptability. You need to achieve the expected output quality. You need to be able to create a filmic, cinematic look. And you need to achieve return of investment at a reasonable time frame. So introducing Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K. Our answer to these questions and culmination of 6 years of camera development. The Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K features the Blackmagic Design 4.6K sensor. It provides 15 stops of dynamic range, which is the highest you can find in a camera at this price range, under $10,000, let's say. It provides higher than 4K resolution, 4.6K, and all the intermediate resolutions under it, 2K DCI, Ultra HD, and 4K. It supports anamorphic modes in 3K and 2K, and it allows high frame rate recording, 60 frames per second at 4K and 120 frames per second at HD and 2K. The Ursa Mini Pro is the first digital film camera that allows user interchangeable lens mounts. This is ideal for filmmakers to adapt the camera to suit their needs and production requirements when they want to shoot with different and specific lenses. The camera comes with EF, which is suitable for budget documentary, corporate video, lower budget commercials, and it gives the ability to use the massive amount of existing EF photo lenses out in the market. But you can also put a PL mount on it. PL would be preferred for feature film, short film, high-end documentary and high-end commercials. Or you can put broadcast lenses on it with the B4 mount. This would be ideal for live broadcast, soap operas, and drama. And finally, Nikon F mount for giving the ability to use Nikon photo lenses. There was a complaint from our earlier cameras that they didn't have built-in filters and they had to be added externally via Matbox. So in Ursa Mini Pro, we also added built-in ND filters. They are true glass NDs, not electronic, so they add physical protection to the sensor as well. They also include infrared filter for the sensor to protect against sunlight shots and infrared bleed, so that it's always on. And there's a rotary mechanical wheel for easy use. If we look at the body, the camera is cameraman friendly with tactile controls. Dedicated buttons for the essential controls like iris, shutter, white balance, and ISO are always under the cameraman's hand. And there's a high frame rate button here for easily punching into high frame rates as quickly as possible when needed. And we have 2 function buttons for assigning your favorite controls from the menu. The Ursa Mini Pro provides versatile recording media options. There is dual slots of SD and dual slot of CFast memory card. SD card can be used for any format up to RAW and high frame rate at 4K. For 4K, you have for RAW at 4K, CFast card should be used. This camera supports RAW and all flavors of ProRes, including 444, which is a big advantage in post-production. Plus, we provide optional SSD that comes at the back of the camera for expanded storage options. For field and ENG work, we provide a very high quality electronic viewfinder. It provides high resolution 1080p color OLED display, made of precision glass optics, adjustable diopter and built-in digital focus charts so that you can focus perfectly on your subject. And it can be used with left or right eye. Video and power connections are provided through the camera. The shoulder kit adds top handle and offset arm and quick release plate. The Ursa Mini Pro is a full camera solution for digital filmmaking that supports entry-level and aspiring filmmakers. It's been used in leading high-end production and is on the Netflix recommended list of 4K production cameras. And it has become a prominent 4K camera for commercial, music, and corporate video. Next product I want to talk about is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. In order to complement the lower end of our digital film camera lineup, we announced it at NAB 2018 this year. This is the newest camera in our range. It builds on the performance and quality of camera technology which we reach with Ursa Mini Pro. It was something that you users have been asking us, bothering us actually for a very long time, so we listened and released a camera in DSLR format that is designed from ground up for 4K cinematic video production. At the heart of this camera is a brand new 4/3-inch 4K sensor, which supports HD, Ultra HD, and 4K DCI formats, and recording frame rates up to 60 frames in 4K and 120 in HD. The sensor has a dual ISO mode, native at 400 and 3200, and can go up to 25,600, which will turn night into day if you are shooting in low light. This camera uses a micro 4/3 lens mount with active control over lenses from the camera body. So you can change the ISO, zoom, focus controls from the camera body itself if you want to. Micro Four Thirds is an increasingly supported lens format for high-quality lenses designed for cine and video applications. And you can use all your existing Micro Four Thirds lenses if you have this format of stills camera, or even on an original pocket cinema camera. This camera is revolutionary in its material too. It has a carbon fiber polycarbonate body and will provide a solid, robust camera that will last. And it weighs only 750 grams. The Pocket 4K has got the same CFast and SD media options as the Ursa Mini Pro. CFast for RAW and high frame rate 4K and SD card for all the others. It's got also RAW internal and ProRes codecs. I can't stress this enough because RAW is only provided by full format big body digital cinema cameras and only some of them. We have made this available in a camera that's the size of a DSLR at only $1,300, not to mention the power of ProRes. With these recording options, there is no need of external recording devices or intermediate formats anymore. On the side of the camera, there is a full-size HDMI output that you can feed HDR-compatible 10-bit video to external monitors. There is a lockable power supply, single-channel mini XLR for professional audio input, and USB-C for power and data. The USB-C can even be used for connecting a hard disk, SSD disk, and recording directly on the SSD, thus expanding the recording times and limiting the potential cost of CFast media. As before, our ethos in this camera is the 3R: range, RAW, and resolve. What do we mean by that? The RAW should be obvious. All our cameras feature RAW recording. Range. We always focus on our cameras to have a high dynamic range. On the left, you can see MPEG video, which would be typically recording format on a DSLR. It is overexposed and the details are lost. And on the right, you can see the same shot with RAW with 13 stops of dynamic range. It allows balanced and natural images that retain detail between highlights and shadows. And the third R is for Resolve. A full license of DaVinci Resolve Studio is included with all Cine Blackmagic cameras, including the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. DaVinci Resolve is our industry standard software used throughout post-production facilities worldwide. 8 out of 10 Hollywood features are graded and delivered using DaVinci Resolve today. Its reputation is built on a 32-bit float point processing and incredible GPU-based performance, which means it can handle complex, multi-layered nodes in real time and fine-tune color grades with billions of colors available. DaVinci became, as I said, part of the Blackmagic family of products in 2009. And even before that, pioneered digital color processing and grading technology, which have become foundations of all color grading. Our dedication to supporting post-production customers development is ongoing, and now we've announced our greatest version of DaVinci ever. DaVinci Resolve 15, which is now in public beta. It's a huge update to provide the most comprehensive post-production tools in a single software. And we've even added fusion visual effects into it. So Fusion looked like this when we acquired it in 2014. It was a massively capable piece of software used by Hollywood special effects. We worked to update the software and released the version 9 last year, and now added Fusion directly into DaVinci Resolve. So this is Fusion in Resolve. It's got over 250 powerful tools for 2D and 3D effects. So there is no need for exporting your project between different softwares anymore. Resolve also includes Fairlight audio, added in version 14 about 1 year ago. It's a complete audio production toolset. Not just making Resolve audio tools better, but turning it into a digital audio workstation for audio for video. Version 15 has a major update for Fairlight as well, including new automatic dialogue replacement tools and sound effects database. Resolve is also a professional video editing package. Its editing tools have been reworked and improved year on year with over 700 updates in the last few versions only. Just Resolve 15 adds around 100 new features. We can safely say that it's a fully fledged NLE system with support for formats up to 8K. All the usual edit tools that would be expected by a professional video editor are present, including multicam editing. And it allows project collaboration, network sharing with multiple users on the same timeline and project. The heart of Resolve is always color. It's a node-based grading with 32-bit float processing for incredible performance. It also provides world-class noise reduction, real-time tracking, and camera stabilization tools. It supports raw camera processing for all leading digital camera systems, not just for ours. And it provides advanced support for emerging HDR workflows. So, who uses DaVinci? The largest post-production companies in the world use DaVinci Resolve, and more Hollywood feature films are graded on Resolve than any other system. 8 out of 10 feature films are finished on DaVinci Resolve. TV shows and series like Game of Thrones, Narcos, and Peaky Blinders. It's a tool and respected throughout the industry, including an already massive user base and new training community and certification resources, adding new users every other day. So this is my bit for the moment. Now my colleague Chris will join us, but you can present it.
Thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim. I think with that I know more Turkish than I do Swahili, so that's good. Teşekkür ederim. Another round of applause for Uhur, please. Lovely. Just shout out loud, which product are you most excited about? Don't even raise that, just shout out your answer. Which product from Blackmagic design are you most excited about? Shout it out. Resolve, one more time? Resolve seems to be getting a lot. I think good business is coming your way, Uhur. Good business is coming your way. The next person to come and speak to us is a man whose biography is really too long to fit on this little tiny page that I have, but I will give it an attempt. He is the co-founder and chief creative officer of an online platform that is revolutionizing content here in Kenya called What's Good Studios. Recently won awards for one of their programs, Mom's Village. He's also been a visual effects supervisor and director for Digital Domain. How many of you heard of Digital Domain? Hands up. Okay, 1 or 2 hands. I'll ask another question. How many of you have heard of X-Men, Days of Future Past? Hands up. Iron Man 3? Titanic? iRobot? Well, if you have heard of those, you have heard of Digital Domain, although you didn't know it. They work with the visual effects and this was involved. I stole this shine. I was actually going to reveal that in this presentation, I believe, but I had to let that out. He's also been a creative director for Method Studios. How many have heard of Method Studios? Let's see where we're going with this. How many have heard of Method Studios? Okay. How many of you have heard of Black Panther? Or Deadpool 2? Avengers Infinity War? Are these names familiar? I just want to be sure you know. Okay, great. He was, and I believe he had left by the time some of these were coming out, but he was also a creative director at Method Studios, both Method Studios digital domain, companies that are revolutionizing visual effects in film and other media. He's also a music producer. He's done music and art for games as well before he went to Hollywood. This one might be a bit of a long shot. How many were ever game called Worms? Worms 2, Worms Armageddon, any game players? Worms? I grew up on Worms, so when I found out I was so excited. I'm actually going to get your autograph after this. The list goes on. The list goes on. And the gentleman who I have been trying to introduce is none other than Chris Lyne. Give him a round of applause. Chris is going to give us, he's just going, just be amazed by the presentation. Round of applause again as they hand over the microphone.
Morning, everyone. Hi. So, I moved here about 5-6 years ago, and to do something totally different. So I was working in the Hollywood system, as it were, for the last 17 years. Starting as a digital artist at Digital Domain, and then working my way up as a CG supervisor and sequence supervisor, then visual effects supervisor, and throughout all of that, and then directing. And then throughout all of that, you actually do touch on doing a lot of different things. And the main point of what I wanted to talk to you today about is the suite of tools that you're getting in DaVinci and Resolve. Okay? And my path has crossed all of the software that you're going to be using now in Resolve, but I just did it a long time ago. So I'm very much in line with what, and a lot of my work has been done with the tools that you used to use DaVinci. That's the tools that I have basically used over the past 20 years. Okay? So, yeah, so visual effects supervisor, I did a lot of 3D, I directed a lot of commercials, I did a bunch of commercials when I came here, and I do creative direction and now consult. So, but the point for a lot of what we're going to be showing is that, yeah, as I said, I used to work at Digital Domain. I was also, during my time at Method Studios, I was nominated for an Emmy Award for my work with IBM on the Watson campaign, the artificial intelligence computer. That was good fun. And then maybe just to kind of get you to understand my background, I'll show a little bit of my work. And this is just some of my visual effects work. It actually doesn't include any stuff I've done here, but I can show you a little bit of that. Again, the whole point is so you understand my background, know where I'm coming from, to justify why I think it's a good idea for you guys to use Resolve. Make sense? Okay. So I'll show you a little bit of this, if it makes sense. He says, is it not working at all? A lot of this was using software called Nuke, but a lot of this was done with Fusion as well, and DaVinci. All the engines are CG, obviously, the backgrounds are real, explosions are real, engines are CG, the dog's real. That's built in that one. So you get the general idea. Again, all of these commercials are usually done under a high speed. You're trying to get them done as high, you've got to have the right tools to do the right job. And so that's why all of these tools that work with 3D. And back then, everything was separate. Everything was done in separate ways. Everything was much more expensive. And so achieving this took a lot more work and a lot more money. But now, you're going to have tools that are available to you that allow you to do very high quality work with one tool set. Okay?
That's LL Cool J, as you might see. Bunch of car commercials. That was Medal of Honor for EA Games. And that one, I had a team of about 30 odd people working on that. If you guys remember Stargate, and that was for a movie. Did a bunch of American Express commercials, 27 of them. And then Disney approached us to do their 50th anniversary, so we did all the animation for that too. Which is weird that Disney didn't do it, but that's a long story. Okay, there you have it. So that kind of gives you a sample of the kind of work. And again, that's using, thank you very much. That's using the tool sets that back then, which I'll get into a little bit, were all separate, and they all had to be bought separately and put together. And so my main point for you is I'm going to go back in a little bit in history, okay? And I'm really wanting to show you guys the work that it's taken. Well, let's put it this way. You know when you buy a DVD in the corner, like for a little bit of money, okay? Do you really care about the 50 films on there? You don't. You're kind of just like, oh, okay, right? But if you've got 4 good films on that, or if you buy 4 good films, you'll actually respect those things a lot more. So that goes with the same with bundled software. When you get bundled software, you think that this is just all stuff thrown together. I can tell you that this, and we're going to go into it a little bit, that the software that's being bundled has been re-engineered to work completely cohesively. But I think for you guys to understand why it's important to know the history, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show a little bit of the backstory and of where these tools came from so that it makes sense for you to go, this is crazy, and I really mean it. It is amazing that you guys are getting even Resolve on its own. Okay, can anyone give a guess how much Resolve used to cost? Anyone? Come on, give a guess. You. $1,000. You are 1/500th out. Because it used to cost, now this night, look it up. It used to cost, and I'll go closer to the mic for this one, $500,000. That's $500,000. We all hear that. Isn't that crazy? Now, has this software become less important over the years? No, it's actually become more important because they've actually managed to upgrade it and keep it going. But anyway, I'll get into that in a little bit. I want to just show you a little bit of the work that we've done here so it makes sense for What's Good Studios. We do online shows. We were the first company to do online streaming, way before Facebook Live, way before YouTube Live. And so we did shows like The Hump Show. I don't know if you guys have seen it online on our network. We did one called Shank Talk. Before we even had business cards, we did this. Do you remember the Don't Drink and Drive commercial, the Drive Responsibly? Yeah, we did that one. And I'm trying to get another one done this year, but we'll see if we can get it done. And then we did other things like Can You Orient? And then you might remember the OLX Sell It show with Eric Amondi. That was about 50 commercials. And you know, they went and did them with somebody else after 50 commercials, but they didn't turn out as good. And then recently, we've got Mum's Village and Mum Rocks, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with as well. So we take Mum's Village, if this is going to work, because it doesn't look like it wanted to work before. We're trying to create high-quality programming. And the funny thing is, I actually color-corrected this with Resolve. You know, I'm actually still using the tools that I was using in Hollywood here. So, yeah, we did the intro. I made the intro sequence, did the graphics for the beginning, came up with the idea, designed the set, built the set, modeled the whole thing, and then produced the program. And hopefully it'll play. Oh, this is Mama Rocks. It's actually a different one. I did the intro sequence for that. This is kind of 3D, the burger getting wrapped around a little 3D truck. Maybe I can show you this other one too, if it's going to work. Those flowers, the sun comes up, they're kind of pushing forward, they get the sun coming around the front like that. It's kind of nice intro into a program. And then so the set design I did, and the modeling and the whole thing, rendering, then making it look good, and then we put that all on our TriCaster and made it look nice. And we've got Janet and we've got Isis doing that. And that one got an award recently too. So that kind of shows the stuff that we've been doing. Okay, wow, that was weird. Okay, all good? So what we're going to do is, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Okay? So if you look at this, the modules that you've got an ingestion module, you've got an editing module, you've got a visual effects module, which is Fusion. You've got Resolve, which is the color grading, and you've got Fairlight Audio, and then you've got the output, okay? Now, this is the funny thing though. Back when this story started, of all of this software, you know, what were Blackmagic doing? They were doing these great little boxes and these great little converters that everyone knows and loves, okay? But they were in that game right at this moment in time when things started to change. Now, you mentioned earlier about in the first Star Wars being shot with F900s. After that, there was the first film, and I worked on this film. It was a George Clooney film, which I'll show you right now, where it was the first time that you take the film, scan it in a very high resolution, and then all the way through editorial and visual effects and color grading using what's called a digital intermediary. Okay? And then at the very end, it gets converted back to film. Now, this was great because you're working everything in digitally. And then that's when it became really quickly obvious. It's like, film's great, but man, what a hassle. So as the cameras were starting to get better, the use of DI, and this film was really great because it was the first time that the colors were really rich in the way that they are, and it had a real definitive look. And it also allowed us to seamlessly merge in visual effects that usually when you're adding back then, you could still kind of see it a little bit. So I'll just show you a little bit of this, and you'll get the idea. Okay, like that's not a real cow. That was a visual effects cow, okay? So don't worry, there was no cows hurt there. And then in this sequence here, you see the rich colors. This movie was really kind of seen as a spearhead for that kind of tone and giving it an overall look. And this sequence that you'll see here was a flood sequence that we did. That's a practical and visual effects. It was a practical model, and as well it was 3D volumes of water and everything like that. And then this whole next section, again, being able to do this and then transfer it back to film at the end and it look exactly the same, it was a great advantage. But there was lots of lessons learned. So actually, everything that you're seeing here is actually all 3D. Everything. Okay? Apart from some bubbles that we added. And then the only thing that's real is George Clooney here that you see for a little minute. And then everything else that you get to see added, that was all added afterwards. But this was a landmark film, not so much on, well, it was a great film, people really liked it, but it was seen more on the side of, it started the trend of a digital-only workflow. And that's when things became interesting. Now, back then, okay, and this was 2000, there was this great piece of software back then called Fusion, okay? So, back in the day at this time, we had that compositing system called Nuke, and it's still, you can buy it now, it's about $6,000, okay? And then the maintenance is about, I think it's $900 a year for the maintenance, something crazy, okay? Now, it's a node-based system, and it's fantastic, but it is super, super expensive. Round about the same time as that, and you can look, if you look at that picture there, how old is that phone, okay? So you can tell how old the software was also. But basically, back then, Fusion was $995, okay? Still expensive, but a heck of a lot cheaper than $6,000, yeah? And to be honest, we were using that when I left Digital Domain, and then I went to Method to be creative director, which then became Method, Riot then became Method. It's a long story. Basically, what we have is you have a big company called Ascent Media, and they own a lot of visual effects companies, and they own a lot of audio and video companies. And because I was creative director of that, of Riot Method, I got introduced to all this other aspects of digital production. So I was exposed all to the audio side, and all to the mixing side, as well as all to the color correction side. We had DaVinci made the product called Resolve, right? It had this other product called DaVinci 2K, and it was a color correction system. And the basic box was $800,000, and you round it out, it was about $1.5 million for each system. And we had 13 of these systems, all in these beautiful suites. But when Resolve was released, they actually took out parts of it, parts of DaVinci 2K, because they didn't want to jeopardize them making the money on the big expensive one. But the writing was already in the wall with all of these new digital technologies coming out. So as soon as things started to go to digital only, that's when really Blackmagic were quietly doing something very interesting. Now, so at the time then, there was one of our partner companies were called Toddio West, and they had these nice, very expensive Fairlight MFX systems. And if you see the bottom there, that basically it's like a cinema, but it's just mixing desk all the way across. And that was powered by Fairlight MFX. And those things were super expensive. But in the day, the actual units, there would be maybe 4 of them powering that. But each of them were only $75,000, okay? Now, when I started seeing these guys operate these things, they didn't have a mouse. They didn't have anything. But what these systems allowed you to do is to use both hands, which I'll just show you in a little second. One of the other things in the top right there, you've got the Fairlight CMI. That was the very first sampler, editor, and sequencer. It's basically a digital audio workstation. And the things that was invented on that are still basically, it's the grandfather of all digital audio. And Fairlight were the #1 people doing that. And back in the 80s and 90s when you could buy one of those Fairlights, you could buy a Fairlight, like in the UK, or you could buy 2 houses, or 3 nice houses. So the problem was it was very expensive, and so only the very, very high-end people could afford it. But the great thing was I was exposed to all of that. And then because of my work as creative director, we'd get a commercial come in, we'd have to get the audio come in, we'd have to get the color correction, we'd have to do all that, and then I designed a workflow around that, and that's what I'm going to get to. So if you see this one here, what's really fantastic, when you're using software, okay, what's the thing you use? A mouse pointer. Okay, how many mouse pointers do you generally have on the screen at once? 1. Okay. Have you ever had it that something's wrong with your keyboard and you have to use that on-screen keyboard when you're typing and you've got the 1 button? Imagine if you had to do that for everything. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? It's like 1, hello, no, you wanted 2 fingers at least, okay, like on a phone. But when you're typing with your hands, you're using all your fingers if you're a decent typist. So why is it normal then to do color correction and editing and all of these things with 1 mouse? It's not. It's just because that's what's been accepted. So back then, if you look at this thing here, this system right here, this is one of the newer versions of that older system, okay? And this allowed both of your hands to be used at once. And it is massive. It's a massive time saver. And it's in the same way that if you're using this, you can do 20 things in 2 seconds that would take you to go, And also, when you're mixing, you can do both fingers at once. You can do both hands at once. And it's the same with these things. It allows you to use both hands at once. And so that's why this software is tightly integrated to this hardware. And this hardware is so ridiculously affordable in the big scheme of things. I know it's still expensive, but this used to be, the control surface for this used to be about $90,000 to $100,000 just for the box that doesn't do anything. Right? This is like $2,000 or $3,000, which is fantastic. And it's actually physically made better than the ones were back then. So that's part of my point. So if you go into you were kind of putting it all together now. That thing there is what the Resolve looked like. It was a box, and you had these boards called power boards that you'd put in it, okay? And one of the funny things was, I was doing a commercial back then, and it was called Area 51. And which is on my site if you want to go see it on my site. And we were trying to keep the costs down because there was a lot of practical effects. We had all these buses and boats and things on fire and a house that had to be demolished, and which we did in visual effects, of course. But they wanted to keep the costs down. So I was approached by Siggy Firstel, who's the main color corrector, and he goes, I've got this new thing called Resolve. If you shoot it in HD, we can use this Resolve. And he brought this thing along. Now, if you're ever used to, who's actually used to doing any kind of color correction or grading? Anyone? Right, okay. You know when you do like a window, a power window they used to call them? The power window comes from the name of these power boards, right? And for each board, it's so crazy. Each board gave you 1 window. Each board was $50,000. It's crazy. But they could charge that kind of price because generally a commercial, you know, usually every shoot day is $100,000, $110,000. And then so most commercials are $500,000–600,000. So if you're going to a color correction place that does all your color correction for you, they jack up the price because they know the thing can do it. It's like a very expensive doctor. You know, it's a high-end price. So if you wanted 3 or 4 power windows, you had to buy more cards. And so you'd go to a suite that had 4 power windows. They've got 4 power windows. That is very impressive. They have a lot of money. So it's very, very interesting. So now we're realizing that things are really coming together. So now, back then, I managed to get a Fairlight system in I went to my boss actually, and I said we could make it a lot easier for us to give our files to the next company to do the audio if I had a Fairlight. And I kind of was trying. It's like maybe, you know, you could put a Fairlight in my office and it would be easier. And you went, okay. What? All right. Okay. Yep. And I was like, trying to look not surprised. So anyway, what we started doing is we started. We're using Fusion for all of our commercials. Then I did about 100 commercials with Fusion, and then we were using Final Cut at that point, Final Cut 7 for editing. And then all the audio was being done with the Fairlight, and it was all synced together through timecode. And then we were going to Resolve for editing, you know, for doing the color correction. Now the funny thing is, I realized at that point we had this killer workflow, and we had it all in one building, not 2 buildings, 1 building, not in one office, 1 building. But it was a great workflow, and it cost a lot of money to do. But that was in 2006. So these tools were hyper expensive and really well seasoned, and all of these tools are basically battle tested, production ready. And that's why I'm excited, because when they started doing this, I can sort of see a path. But back in 2006, what was Blackmagic doing? They were making these nice little things, right? But then it all changed, okay? So as we've already kind of gone through, I'll do it quickly, but it was in the industry, I was talking to other people, and they were saying 2009, Blackmagic buys DaVinci, and everyone's like, what are they doing? That's like a banana buying a fridge. You know, what were they going to do with that? They make these nice little boxes, aren't they just going to make these little boxes for the rest of their lives? Turns out, no, they have a bigger plan. So that was like, okay, what are they up to? And then 2012, Blackmagic releases the first cinema camera. And people are like, uh-oh, they're onto something. Something's going on here. But they don't know what, right? Then 2015, or 15, 16, you'll correct me, Blackmagic buys Fusion. Now, everyone starts to see this, the gaps are being filled, but it hadn't been a workflow at that point. It was just individual tools that nobody was joining the dots, okay? So at that point, when other companies start going, wait a minute. It's like if any of you guys play chess, and you're playing chess and then you realize you've been totally outmaneuvered, but you didn't see it coming. That's what was happening then, okay? They didn't know what. Then in 2017, they did buy other things, but the one for me that was important was they bought Fairlight, and I knew what was coming. I said, I know what's going to be happening now. I see it, the writing's on the wall, and I had a gut feeling that they might include Fusion, but I thought, wow, that's a moneymaker for them, because it's a really good tool. It's not like a bundled piece of software, as I said. It does 3D particles, it does text, it does you can do motion graphics, you can do all that kind of stuff. For your day-to-day stuff, it's amazing. And that's what I want to kind of tap into a little bit later, because a lot of these people that are here are from broadcast, and you need to see how these tools can actually benefit you in your day-to-day work. Is this going to be like for Hollywood and too much and too big? No, because the way these tools work allows you to immediately go, you know what? I need to fix this sky. Boom, 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 sky fixed. You know what? That sign's in the way. Don't, sign fixed. Right, let's just go into audio now and do a little bit of audio, and then whilst you're watching the audio, you go, there's still a thing I need to fix with it. Okay, click, back in the video, oh, right, I'm back in audio now. That type of workflow is incredible, okay? And that's going to be the future of how we do things. Instead of, okay, let's put it this way. How many young aspiring people, we should like switch off the cameras at this point, are using perhaps not legal software? Everyone's maybe using After Effects or CC, you know, or they're using a cracked version of Photoshop and maybe a cracked version of Premiere Pro, and the plugins don't work because, oh man, and then they have to get the cracked plugin. Okay? Imagine being able to develop yourself professionally using actual tools that you own. Even though it's free, you own the tools. You can legitimately go and work. And the great thing about that is, it allows you to try the other things. I've got plenty of people that I've helped over the years, and they've said, oh, I want to be a director, I want to be a director. And I'm like, okay, right? Young people have, they have ideas. Older people have perspective. And so you get these people and they say, I want to be a director. And then it turns out they want to be a cinematographer or they want to be an editor, but they don't know that until they've tried. Now, back in the old days, it was very expensive to go and try and do these things. So it was very limiting. And so one of the points that I'm talking about this software is, it is liberating to have this software that you can use and try other things. Because I love doing audio mixing, but I didn't really think about it until I was exposed to it, and I was like, I love this, right? So in that way, there's the side effects of getting this software in your hands. And then what really comes into the fore is when you use cameras like this that are specifically designed to work with Resolve, that there's actually gains and benefits of color retention in the highlights that you can recover that you don't get if you're not using this camera. So it's not just the software. And then also there's the paid version of the software which allows collaboration. Okay, we won't get into that today. I'm going to kind of just skim over the top. But one of the things that's amazing about that is, imagine if you're editing, but you need somebody to be doing the color correction and you don't have time. You can share it with this one, and you can be both working on the same project at the same time. That's collaboration. Final Cut doesn't collaborate like that. Avid does to a certain degree, but not in this way. You can also even send messages back and forth to each other whilst you're using it. So each module can work together by other people at the same time. I think that is absolutely groundbreaking. Okay? So, anyway, then it became obvious. So, as I've said, I think they're really tightly coupled this stuff together. And I think some people are already using all these different parts of software. But I believe that there will be a threshold moment when everyone realizes and understands this powerful tool set that you can download today. Now, it's a beta, right? They're on their halfway through the cycle of the betas a little bit. So you can download it. It's got some things that aren't quite right. It's got most of it, and I know that they fix them really, really fast. And then it's going to be free anyway, right? So, and we're going to look at a little bit of the software a little bit later on. We're probably going to have a little bit of a break. But the problem is, Adobe, Avid, and Apple are going to be in trouble because they're making their software use VSTs, which is a plugin that is an international standard. Also, if people are using things like FX Factory, they're all porting all of their tools over to DaVinci. So some people might want to start in Premiere Pro and then start in Final Cut, 10, and then jump over and then do the rest of it. That's totally okay, and you can do that. So you can stay in your comfortable zone, working in the program that you like to work in, and then use all the benefits of the other one. But I can guarantee you that very soon after that, you'll find that you can start your project, ingest your project, organize your project, start editing, and then do the rest of the workflow also. And that's just a matter of people getting comfortable and getting out of the comfort zone. But the great thing is, it's not like that software is going to go away. Yeah? It's going to be yours. Okay. So, so basically what I want to do, and this is on the next part, we're going to take a little break, is I want to show you how the system can basically up your level of productivity. Okay? I want to show you the important parts of each module and not get you bogged down with all the really heavy stuff. Okay? But let's look at important media. You can really easily import, and you can really easily organize. You can do metadata for anything. You can organize all your clips, you can organize all your scenes, and that stays with the clip. But what's really interesting is that the bins, I need to move those down a little bit, sorry, but the bins are like Avid and Premiere, where you store all your data, all your folders, but it also has smart bins, smart folders, which are exactly the same as Final Cut. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. Okay? It also syncs audio and does the multicam audio basically the same way Final Cut does it. Okay? So if you see this here, if it's going to work, you'll see that you've got this area. You can do this on a clip basis, but you can also do it on a list basis, so you can do a whole bunch more in one go. Okay? So that's just ingest, and again, I'm just going to cover this super fast. So with the editorial side of it, and it's funny that they've been sneaky. All the other ones had names. Resolve, Fairlight, Fusion. Okay? The editor, no name, but it's the actual hub of everything. But what they've basically done is taken the best of all the software that's out there and kind of just then, here it is, we're just going to put that there and not really talk about it because it's talking about all the other add-ons that use this kind of stuff. So it's kind of slid under the radar for a lot of people. Anyway, okay, so you'll see a lot of interesting things. For Final Cut, compound clips are called, guess what? Compound clips. Multicams are called, the strange one, here we go, multicam. Right? But then you get other things that are stacked edits. So basically what you can do is you can have one timeline and you can stack another one on top and you can see the differences visually. And you can't do that in Final Cut. I know that for sure, because I wish that was there. That'd make things easy. Okay? Then if you get, oops, what was I going to do here? Was it not going to build for me? Nope, I guess it's not. Okay, but if you see these here, that is Final Cut, and that is DaVinci, Resolve. Now, they're not a million miles away from each other, so it's not like you're going out of your comfort zone to really, like, it's not like, wow, it's all in French, I don't get it, right? If you look here, and you look at, say, the bins, right, the media, they're both in the same kind of place. They're both in the top left. You can organize them in a couple of different ways. You can have it that it gives them in a list or on things. It's fine. Look at the way that you can view things. They're all across the top. You see those all the little different buttons there? They're all there. It's the same kind of thing. You can switch off if you want to see your bins or want to see your inspector, you know? And look at this one, the inspector. Now, on this one here, there's a toggle inspector height on the Resolve one. I didn't have it switched on in the Final Cut, but you can do that in both of them as well. And you know what else is cool? You can load in the keys from Premiere or Final Cut into it and start working immediately, and it all works, right? So the same with the timeline. You know, the timeline is the timeline. You get adjustments for height, you get adjustments for width. It's not like you're going to be in this place where you're feeling uncomfortable, you know? And then same with, if you go from editorial to Resolve, you basically see that you've got a small view. So you can go from a single clip, like say you're highlighted one single clip, and I'm going to show this properly later on. You can go in and then do things that if you were to say, well, there's the actual original thing. And say I just want to darken the sky a little bit. I just want to take it, darken the sky only. I don't want to add a bunch of plugins and do things. I just want to do it in an area that I can do. So I look at that, and then I take the sky, and then I make it more saturated, and then I add it back on, okay? And the way that it works is with this node system. Anytime you go from your timeline onto the clip view, or to the Fusion view, that's coming in and that's going out. So this is coming in, you're chroma keying the sky, you're color correcting the sky, you're laying it back on top, and it goes out. All of these things go from left to right, and you add the things in the way. You want a blur? Put the blur in the way on the pipe. It's like plumbing. You know? So that type of working is very fast, but it's not like you're adding it on top into an area which is the same as in Premiere Pro and Final Cut, is that you're not seeing it in a good visual way to go, oh, I know what that shape is. Artists work with shapes. They work with visuals much better. So seeing it like that, you can, oh, I know what's going on there. You can look at it. And then if you want to come back to it, you get a visual representation of like, oh yeah, I want to add in a blur node here. I want to add in something else here. And so the same with if you're going to Resolve, you know? The Resolve had this node system in the same kind of way. Do you want to add something into there? What I did here was I was just taking her dress and the lip area, and then just added your, is it not playing? And then, okay. Well, basically, all that it didn't play properly, don't know why, computers. But basically, you take her, you can take her original image, you can make a key of her original image, and this is actually in the color correction part, but some of the tools that you need to do are kind of from Fusion are basically in here also. But it's in a workflow that's the same kind of workflows, it's the same kind of nodes that work in the same kind of way, so they become very familiar, okay? But there's the actual bit that it's grabbing, and then you just add that on top and you merge it together, and then that's it. Now, you can do this with the mouse, and it's actually been designed, that's one of the things that they've really changed, is they've added a lot of this stuff on screen. But the great thing is that these color control surfaces, this is the mid-range one, there's a tiny little one, but this allows you, all of them, even the big one, the big one is amazing, by the way, but it's $30,000, it's 3 million, okay? So this one, I would say this would be great for schools and things like that. It's bang in the middle, and it's absolutely amazing. These are this is exactly the same quality that's on the top of the line one. These buttons and everything, they've got this great clack to them. All of these are being offered that you can use it with a mouse normally, okay? Or you can use it with this. When you work with it like this, a lot of the functions that you need to get to, you can basically get to by pressing the buttons instead of going to the mouse. Because when you change from going from using your hands to then finding the mouse, moving them, oh, there's the mouse, right? That's a waste, and then you have to go back to, what was I doing? Oh, it's over here. If you can stay on using both of your hands and you never need to touch the mouse, that's the sign of a good workflow. But what I find is that you can use it with the mouse, and it's good, it just gets better with this, right? So now with Fairlight. Fairlight, as I said, was this massive company that was a pioneering company. And one of the things that I loved about the Fairlight is that when you work, the timeline stays still and the data goes underneath. And they've brought that here, you know, and it is really quite incredible. In the main area here, you can just see all your clips. And then you can see with the one that you've got selected there, you can see that you've got straight away, you've got compressors, you've got dynamics, you've got everything that you want to do quick adjustments. It's incredibly flexible. And then on the top there, you've got noise level adjustments for loudness for TV and broadcast kind of safe stuff. So you can immediately see if your stuff's going to be going over. And it does it in an easy, and again, it's an interface that has been dialed in over 20 years. They've been working on getting this thing better and better, and now you guys get to reap the benefits of that, you know? And this is why it was important for me to explain this is not bundled software. And then again, you can see all of your faders, you can monitor everything all in one area as well with the meters. And now, of course, if you're going to go and go to the hardware version, you've got the same thing. You've got hardware that can be bought in a desk format. You can buy this smaller desk, and this used to be, how much was this on its own? It was like 15 or 12 grand. Maybe it was, I would say 15 or $12,000. And now it's two? It's two. Okay? So, and this isn't for everyone to buy, but what it does do is that this desk is modular. It can expand and get bigger, and the only thing you need to do is put the new front cover on it to give it a nice thing. So each of these modules, you can buy 2 of these modules and start. And then you can add on modules as you get going. And each of these are less, I think the monitor is really cheap as well. It's way less than $1,000. This is a couple of thousand. Each of these are all roughly about $2,000. And in the terms of, you can now afford to get a physical desk that used to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's now $10,000. You can have a pretty good desk. And the flexibility of, again, the way that these controls are, it's designed for both hands to be working at once. And it brings a level of control and speed that is how, on a daily production level, that's what you're going to need. You want to be faster and easier and better. So, and the same with output. Output's actually really cool. basically, it gives you a little check of what you're wanting to do. You can see all your clips kind of lined up just in a row. You can immediately see, oh, this has color correction on it, this has color correction on it, this has got fusion on it too. You can see the things that have been done to them, and you can quickly, easily give jobs of like, I want this to go to Vimeo, I want this to go to there, I want this to do this. And these jobs get built up in a list that can either be done through your computer, or very soon, it's going to be that you can give it to other computers and they'll all do them, so you can spread the load. However, how many times have people had that you've been rendering and you've been waiting? Yes. So in that way, that job can be broken up amongst computers. That hasn't happened yet, but it's on the cards right now. Well, it's actually, they know they're going to be doing it. So, and that's the last one there. So, and that's it. So, thank you very much. I think that kind of shows everything so far. I think what we're going to do is maybe take a little, we should take a little break now? Maybe take a little break. But if you guys have, do you guys have any questions right now? Right, so what you want to do is, if you guys want to, if you're going to take, are we going to take a break? One quick thing, but just letting you know, if you want to take my card here or here, I've got two different ways of communicating with me. I've got my for-profit stuff, my non-profit stuff, and my studio stuff here. You'll get the idea once I take a card and have a look. But if you want to ask me any questions, come afterwards and come and ask questions. Thank you very much for your time. I think this has been fun.
Thank you very much, Chris. Another round of applause. I promised you that by the end of today you will be completely convinced the DaVinci Resolve 15. How many of you are convinced? Like, this is something you should move into. You should need to say a few more. Come on. If 50-50, let's round it up and you're convinced. Come on, hands up. Hands up. Okay, great. There's a lot that's been shown here, and the equipment has been made a lot more affordable, as Chris and Uwe. The reason I'm actually leading with that is because somebody who's coming up to speak next is a lady who will help us understand the financial payment plans and give us flexible and affordable payment plans to purchase some of this equipment. Please give a very, very, very warm round of applause for the names I told you today. Chris is not bad, but we have Beatrice Kanjala Monikombo. Wow. I think that deserves a round of applause as well. Beatrice will take us briefly through payment plan. She is a senior relationships officer at Equity Bank, and Beatrice, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Okay, as you have heard, my names are Beatrice Mukajala Wanikombo. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm from Equity Bank. I hope you all know Equity Bank, and I also want to believe you are members. Or if you are not, then today you will be members, or starting today. Thank you. So now, we have marvelous products here. You have all heard, and everyone would want to have one of their own. But then maybe you are seated here and you're wondering, how am I going to get mine? Maybe you can't, like the money is not enough for you to get it right now in cash. And you are wondering, what am I going to do? So we are here. We would require you to have an account at Equity Bank, and then I will finance you. We finance business people, and we also finance employees, or if you are employed in a certain company, be it a public institution or even private institutions. So now you will approach us. You come with an invoice or a quotation from the company of whatever item that you want to purchase, and then you visit us at the branch, any of our branches, and then I would appraise you, considering of whether you are a business person or employed somewhere. So would pay for that particular product, and then you will be given the product. So you'll be paying back the bank on affordable installments. Would give you a duration of time. If you're a first timer, we can consider 6 months. Then if you have been borrowing before, we can consider a period of up to 12 months. That one is okay. 12 months is a long period of time. If you are to have that asset immediately and you start using it immediately, you put it into your business and your proceeds definitely will grow. And then apart from the loan products, we also have insurance covers. So for the insurance covers, no one would want to buy an item, maybe let's say for $1,000, $2,000, or even more than that, and then risk having that particular item or moving around with it without an insurance cover. You know that worry you get? Like, I have this item, it's worth $2,000, and then you're wondering, suppose it gets stolen, what happens? So we are also giving you insurance under Equity Insurance Agency with different insurance companies to secure your products or your assets. So that's in case of any risk, we compensate you so that you still continue with your business. That is good. So the point here is the continuity of your business. We finance you to buy the asset, and in case anything happens, we compensate you through our insurance agency. So the moment you buy that item, we give you that cover too, through the bank. So the first thing that you're looking at, that you're getting from us, is the security from Equity Bank, and then also the risk, we are taking it over from you, so that as you move around doing your business, you are very, very comfortable. Whatever you go with your expensive items that are assisting you make huge profits in your business, you are so settled.
Yeah.
So settled because you know I'm covered all around.
Okay.
And then consider also the installments. If we give you a period of 1 year to pay for that particular item, that is affordable to so many people. So if you needed $1,000 or $2,000 or even more than that to get that item, that would be giving you profits every month. We come in, we give it to you immediately, and you start earning your profits. And then you pay us monthly. And the interest is very, very little, at 13.5%, reducing balance. So I'm seated right outside here. So in case you have any query, kindly feel free. Any query concerning any products of the bank, the facilities, how we do it, how long the process takes, for the insurance compensations, how long the processes take, and all that. Feel free. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Another round of applause for her, please. Let's do this. Let's applaud her as she walks out, all the way to her desk. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Thank you. As mentioned before, we are going to go for a very, very brief break. But before I mention what's happening during the break, there is a special offer today from Highway Audiovisual Solutions. They are selling a ATEM web broadcast bundle, which has an ATEM television studio. This television studio HD allows you to switch between sources, and it has 8 inputs for HDI or HDMI. Included in this bundle is also a HyperDeck Studio Mini, which can record to SD cards. Included as well is a Blackmagic web presenter, which allows you to stream. And all of these can work at the exact same time. So you can record, switch, and stream all at the same time. And this goes for only $1,930. So you're actually saving 15% with this. On top of that, we are tweeting today. The hashtag we're using is Blackmagic Expo. And there's Wi-Fi within this room. iHub, all caps, is the name of the Wi-Fi. Password is iHub Nairobi, small letters. And I don't ever have the liberty to say this. The safe has walked out. But I think the first person who tweets Blackmagic will get 25% off the ATEM broadcast bundle. He hasn't seen that. No, I don't have the authority to say that. No, don't tweet and then come looking for that extra 10% from me. I will not be able to do that. But please do tweet. Wi-Fi is available. Go ahead, do that, and let people know what's going on here. Tweet, follow our speakers on Facebook, and do that. Right now we have a break. We're going for a very brief break, and a few things. Bathrooms are outside, so where the elevator is, if you're walking towards the elevator, keep going straight. You'll see the bathrooms to your left and the right, the females and the males, respectively. At the same time, we have a little cafe, coffee shop out here. You can have a brief or something small to drink or eat if you need to. The break will be very short, only 15 minutes, and really the purpose of it is to encourage all of you to interact with Highway Audiovisual Solutions, Headbox, Blackmagic Design, Fujifilm. They're here for you, Chris himself. This is an opportunity, and network amongst yourselves, because we are the future really of the industry here in this room. So get to know each other. It's only 15 minutes we're going for. We'll reconvene at exactly... Oh, my phone goes on. Okay, just decided not to go on. What's the time? 37. Okay, we'll be here just before 11. By 11:50, let's be seated so that by 5 to 11, and 12, we can begin the next part of the program, which will be very, very hands-on with a few demos. So we're going for a very brief break. Thank you for staying with us, and please interact with everybody here who is here to help you. Okay, see you soon.
Are you working as a presenter or announcer somewhere? Radio, TV? TV.